Well, happy Saturday, guys. Your Michigan State Spartans are elite. And we are here to break it all down for you, to give you guys an episode ahead of Sunday's Elite Eight matchup. We're recording this about 3 minutes left in the Michigan-Auburn game, and it looks like Auburn is going to win that one, but we'll make sure that we confirm that before we kind of look ahead at that game. But we have a lot to talk about for this game, and we're excited. Michigan State is dancing, and they pulled it out. Unbelievable.
They pulled something out. I don't know what that game was. I frankly don't understand how Michigan State won that game against Ole Miss. I'm still kind of in disbelief. I feel like Thanos came in with the red reality stone and kind of just altered things, and I'm waiting for it to go back. But you know what? I'm gonna love it while it's here. I don't even know how to process that game. Quite honestly, I did not have any fun watching that until the last 5.4 seconds.
You guys should have seen Abby watching this game. She was unwell throughout
Very unwell.
The first
genuinely thought I was going to have to make
39 minutes of this basketball game.
Trips to the Wiz Palace, the porcelain place during that game.
The porcelain place.
I don't know. It's late. We barely snuck that out. I mean, I have to start here, and I feel like we probably don't do this often enough, partly because, right, we're an MSU podcast. We're not shy about that. We love this team. But I have to give credit to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, holy Moses, they beat us at so many aspects of our game that we've come to take pride in, say this is something that Michigan State is super unique in, having a deep team, having a team that has multiple players that can go off and score at any point and be a leader, right? We talked about that. They have 6 different guys that average above 10 points.
Right.
They out-rebounded us in that game. In some ways, I feel like they out-hustled and out-defended us for maybe the majority of the minutes of that game. I mean, the defense that they played, that, if you want a really good breakdown of it, again, we love Andrew Talks Hoops over here. He did a beautiful breakdown of the type of defense that Ole Miss plays. So if you need to, kind of go back and relive the trauma that was that suffocating defense, go back and check out his game preview. But truly, it felt suffocating. I had no air in my lungs. Quite frankly, I don't know how our boys battled through it, especially when we know we're not a team that has one of the greatest offensive efficiencies on any of Bart Torvik, Ken Pom, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this game and it seemed like for a large portion of this game, Michigan State kind of took the little things for granted.
Yes.
We came into this game thinking that Michigan State was going to be able to dominate on the glass, and Ole Miss had 12 offensive rebounds to 5. Ole Miss was able to shut down Michigan State in the fast break, only 3 fast break points. Ole Miss shot the ball 16 more times than Michigan State. So many of these key factors
insane
that you look at in a basketball game,
yes.
Ole Miss had pretty significant advantages in, and Michigan State still found a way, like they always do, like they always have all season long, to keep on dancing.
And that's what I mean. I genuinely, when I look at the numbers from the game, I don't understand how we won. All the things that are oh, this was the difference maker, right? We talked about Bryant, second chance points. We had a 25-point margin on them. The difference in second chance points was 25 points. I mean, so many games we've pointed to that of free throws made or whatever it is, which free throws were massive for the Spartans today. Honestly, I think that is the reason. But yeah, from so many other perspectives, it's we have no business winning this game. They put up 16 more shots than us.
Yeah, pretty crazy discrepancy.
Wild.
But you mentioned on our last episode that Michigan State needed to tighten up the free throw shooting.
Yeah.
And Michigan State shot 19 of 22.
We got to the line 22 times.
22 times.
Holy moly.
I don't believe they missed a free throw in the second half. I think all 3 of those misses were within the first 6 free throws of the game. I think they made over a dozen straight free throws, and they just battled like they always do. Like you said, credit to Ole Miss. They had an excellent game plan coming into this game. They executed it beautifully. They literally dictated the pace, the flow of this game, how they wanted to play this game.
Turnovers with their hand checks, their just like up in your face aggression on defense.
Yeah, and like you said, like they were really out Michigan State for most of this game.
Which quite frankly is terrifying. Except Ole Miss didn't just win that game. Michigan State, the Spartan Dogs, freaking won that game. And that's where I'm kind of feeling like, again, riding high over here. But when you have a team that comes in, right, like we've talked about these mismatches with New Mexico, with Bryant, with so many other teams, even in the Big Ten, right, like these teams that want to shoot the 3-ball in Wisconsin, or just different aspects of different teams. It's like, well, but nobody's doing what Michigan State's doing. And Ole Miss came in and said, we're going to try to beat you at your own game.
Right.
And frankly, they did on so many aspects. And so for us to be able to pull out that win is like, okay, we faced one of the scariest sorts of opponents, and we still were able to pull out the victory. So let's break it down for ourselves, quite frankly, to process what we just experienced. We talked about the free throws, which obviously is huge. I mean, 19 points out of, barely 70 plus coming from free throws. Yeah. That's 25% of your scoring. Like, that's wild. What else? Like, what stood out to you? What were the moments or the, plays or opportunities that Michigan State had that were like, okay, this was why the Spartans won this game?
Right. And I mean, I think it starts at the defensive end of the floor. As much as it was just a slog, a dogfight offensively for most of this game, Michigan State was playing well enough defensively to stay in this game throughout. They were forcing tough looks from Ole Miss. Obviously, they hit some outside shots, but a lot of those outside shots were with the hand in the face of the Ole Miss shooter.
Oh my gosh, Padula needed barely half an inch to be able to elevate over.
But Michigan State, they played very well defensively and allowed them to stay in this game. But then on the flip side, Michigan State also knocked down some deep balls. I think they had 8 or 9 threes, which for Michigan State hitting 8 or 9 threes,
pretty significant. That doesn't feel like it. I remember the 3 from Jace, and that's it. I don't remember any other threes from that game. Quite frankly, I think I blacked out for portions of that game. It was one of those situations of I can't look away because it's a train wreck, but then I want to because I think I'm going to vomit. I was unwell during that game.
But it seemed like this was a game of runs. Both teams are kind of going back and forth, and it seemed like every time Michigan State had an answer, Ole Miss would go on a run of their own. But again, in crunch time, those final 8 minutes of the game, Michigan State really made every single play down the stretch that they needed to. When they needed to get stops, they got stops. When they needed to get buckets, they got buckets. When they needed to slow things down, get to the free throw line, they did that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in this game is down the stretch, Michigan State made all the plays and Ole Miss didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are moments where it felt like, those couple of drives that Akins had to the hoop that was just yes, this is what we need. Why are we not doing more of this? Or that time where I think Cooper kind of did that pick and roll to the basket. We were able to slot it into him. Why aren't we doing this more? There were moments where it felt like we're not even clicking well. We're not even running the offense that we want to run. I mean, goodness, Jeremy Fears Jr., I love you. I truly do. And I've had so much hope and faith in him this season. And it keeps coming back to this, right? We talked about this early in the season, the amount of times that he holds the ball at the top of the arc or dribbles right in past the charity line and then holds the ball. I mean, it was just tearing my heart to shreds.
I'll push back a little bit though. There's definitely
let's go for it. That's fine.
Those moments. Yes. And I totally agree where teams just can sit back and kind of sag on him. But down the stretch,
I know
he was one of those guys making all the plays, drawing fouls. He got that volleyball spike to Cohen Carr that really changed the game. when we say that Cohen Carr's dunks are worth 6 points.
Okay, you're going to use that against me.
They're worth 6 points.
Yes.
And that's what it was. Like, I don't think for large portions of the game this was Trey Holloman's best game.
No.
But in big moments, he showed up and got the job done.
I mean, ice in his veins.
Defensively, knocking down those free throws.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Like, this grit of Michigan State, as much as in some of these games, the first 35 minutes, we want to, like, cut our eyeballs out.
Rip our hair out.
The grit just always outgrits the other team, even when Ole Miss is doing everything right. And this is where we talked about it again in our last episode, where you come into these games, obviously, with a game plan.
Yeah.
And at this point in the season, you're going up against good teams and good coaches. And Chris Beard is honestly one of the best X's and O's coach in the game.
Yeah.
He has a game plan, and his teams execute that. And I feel like years past, Michigan State, if their initial game plan isn't working, they haven't been able to adjust.
Yeah.
But this team in game just shows that ability to be able to adjust and make the different plays in order to win the game. Like, we couldn't get to the hoop in the first 30 minutes of this game. But then the guards, Akins, Holloman, Richardson, they were all figuring out how to play against this press middle defense. And they were getting to the hoop, and they were finishing.
And here's the thing that I think is so remarkable about that is that this isn't like the Illinois game in Illinois. This isn't like the Oregon game where, first half we're having this major deficit. We're really struggling. We go into halftime. Tom irons out the guys. They come out there, so they start playing better ball, right? Or even the Oregon game at the Big Ten tournament. Same kind of deal. Even though they went on a little run to kind of open the half, we were able to like very quickly pull that back. I feel like there's a key difference between those games and this recent, New Mexico win, this brand new fresh Ole Miss win, is that it really was down to like you said, the last 5-10 minutes before we really started seeing much like juice from the guys, where we're seeing like this offensive mojo. And again, it's the age-old tale with the Spartans, right? It got fueled by the defense. Quite frankly, I don't know how we did it without the rebounding. I still, the math is not mathing in my brain. Like, how they had so many more opportunities, so many more shots. It just logically doesn't make sense to me. But I think the ability to just, suffocate them back on defense, and then really try to absolutely make your offensive possessions count. And I think the biggest thing was that for so long we were just battling to stay tied or maybe even get the lead, and then we weren't able to get that stop. But then I don't know what, with like 4 or 5 minutes left, we finally actually started capitalizing on that lead. And like you said, that Cohen card dunk, in any game, in any moment, one of just the most beautiful, sick. Like you said, the volleyball like block swat down to Cohen Carr for him to, again, both of us were saying like it felt a lot more comfortable if you'd gone up with 2 hands, Cohen. I know we got to get the style points, but good Lord, that dunk was atrocious. Atrocious. Like, so
atrocious in a good way.
Anyone that is not a Michigan State fan is like shielding my eyes. It's just like too much to handle. But it was such a pivotal moment in that game. And like you said, a Cohen Carr dunk is worth 6 points, especially that one.
In that moment, and Michigan State, I hate using this reference, and I think a lot of our listeners might get this reference. But Michigan State kind of over and over in this season, like, they take these teams out to the deep water.
Oh, dear. All right, we're going there.
And sometimes when you're in the deep water, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
But Michigan State over and over again takes these teams in the deep water and outlasts them, where these teams can't stay afloat for 40 minutes. And we've seen this time and time again against these teams who play this high pressure, intense defense against Michigan State. And for large portions of the game, it works and it really slows down Michigan State. But they figure it out. They wear the teams down, And in the moments that it counts, they get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about moments that count, I think a small thing, and I got to shout out my brother here because he made this observation, was that really Michigan State did such a good job of conserving their fouls and fouling when it really mattered.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the fouls that we gave were ones that, granted, there were some doozies,
questionable calls
from the striped individuals in that arena. But when the Spartans were like choosing to foul, it was in very smart, wise instances, especially coming down to the end of that first half, right?
Yeah.
Just really trying to take that time off the clock,
right?
Reduce that possession for Ole Miss. But I think too, I just really have to champion Frankie Fiddler yet again. I mean, he's one of those guys that we keep saying this over and over again. And I'm sorry, you guys know this. You listen, I assume most of you listen most of the time if you're listening to this. Like, we sound like a broken record because if you look at his box score, again, it's like very unimpressive. I think he had like 1 rebound, 1 assist, 5 points, like nothing major to speak of. But he got an and one, which was, again, a huge momentum play. He has ability to muscle through guys in a way that, like, you look at Frankie and you're like, this is not like this big, strong, tough guy.
Right.
He can take a beating like no one else and still come out the other side and finish the shot. Like, his ability to get to the rim, to draw the foul, to be exactly where he needs to be and split that defense apart is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I really don't see a lot of other guys on any team, and even the Spartans, kind of doing things the way that he does. Jace has got the finesse. Like, he can get to the hoop with all these nice little, like, ice skate moves that remind me of Cassius. Jaden will just put his head down and drive. Frankie somehow goes through, like, 6 people.
Bulldozer mode.
Should pick up probably 5 fouls every single time he goes to the hoop and still finishes the shot. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, and he's just the guy that, like, has accepted his role on the team and has been executing it so well. Like, he's in the game and doing exactly what Michigan State needs him to do in those moments on the defensive end, on the offensive end, getting those fouls. And he just has been a great addition. Maybe not the addition that we thought he would be, but he's been the perfect addition to this team.
Yeah.
Now, I said we watched this game with some of Abby's family, and on the drive there, we were talking about the game.
Just going to toot your own horn over here.
I'm going to toot my own horn. This is a positive podcast. All right, we're trying to be positive over here.
Jonah's like, stop being negative.
But I said that if Michigan State's going to win this game, the 3 players that I thought were going to have the biggest impact were Jace Richardson, Cohen Carr, and Carson Cooper. And I think, obviously, you can make an argument maybe Jaden should be in that.
Maybe.
3. But obviously, Jace Richardson knocking down shots, had 3 triples, 20 points. Just incredible throughout the whole night, driving to the hoop.
He deserved it after just the weird
bizarre
lid
game
that was on the basket against the Lobos.
Obviously, Cohen Carr in some big moments. Monstrous dunk. Hitting a triple.
Again, he was part of our main offense in the first half. I think he had like 11 points in the first half when we put up 31 in the whole half.
Getting to the hoop and finishing through contact that was very rarely called against him. But then also Carson Cooper. Yeah. Again, like, you look at the box score, it's not going to amaze you. But in that second half, he was rebounding the ball. He was playing excellent defense. He was getting those big buckets and big moments. And just like, is that hard-nosed Michigan State, like, Spartan dog.
Yes.
Like, he is just, I don't know. He's gotten a lot of flack throughout the years, even at times throughout this season.
Probably from us at times.
He's never going to light up the scoreboard.
Yeah.
But he is just gets down. He gets dirty. He does his job. He makes those plays. He's all heart, all effort, all the time. And we needed that in this game. In a game against Ole Miss that was also, they play with all heart, all hustle, all toughness.
I mean, they didn't give quarter at all that whole game. And I think it says a lot that together, really. Because, I mean, as much as I love Jackson Kohler, he's been having, kind of a rough time this tournament.
I don't think he attempted a shot against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, that would explain his 0 points.
Yeah. Only, I think, 2 rebounds.
It's like the opposite of the Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And he didn't take any.
Right.
Anyway, I think it says a lot of Cohen Carr and Carson Cooper that they were able to, contain Dia as much as they did and draw 4 fouls on him. I mean, again, I have some thoughts on the striped individuals in that arena. And the physicality of the game felt a little bit more like a boxing match, but you know what? It's fine.
A big part of this game is we were able to get some of their guys in foul trouble and sit them on the bench for large portions of the game. And I think that does affect things, even though none of those guys fouled out or maybe we were like in deep, deep danger. But when you're playing with 3 fouls with 10 minutes left, 12 minutes left, like you have to play a little less aggressive, less assertive. And because of that, Michigan State was able to capitalize and take control in crunch time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do you have a player of the game?
I mean, I think it's hard. There's probably 2 players that you could give it to. But I think you got to give it to Jace. Just hitting those big shots, especially in that second half. Just that consistent offensive presence when really throughout this whole night there was no consistent offensive presence.
Yeah.
Kept us in the game, made shots when it counted. I think he's my player of the game.
I have such a hard time with this because I absolutely hear your argument, right? And ultimately, like, who cares who the We Got It podcast has as their player of the game? But I don't know. I feel like, yes, he had like big moments and big times when he got us going offensively, but I feel like Cohen Carr just dug in his heels in a way that we desperately needed, especially like I would argue that, yes, we needed Jace's offense in there, but maybe if he wasn't there, like Jaden Akins, Trey Holloman, though he also struggled in that game, like they can step on that offense and do what needs to be done. Cohen was just like a beast battling in there under the hoop, being, trying to contain Dia, trying to get to the hoop, trying to get boards. Like, yes, he had Cooper, but really like having a pretty poor performance from Jackson Kohler, like he had to do a lot of extra work. So I'm gonna sit with my little flying car over here with my player of the game.
But really, at the end of the day, none of this matters. Because Michigan State advanced.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how we did it. Doesn't matter that there was lots of parts of this game where
my blood pressure went through the roof.
Where I maybe thought that all hope was lost at certain points in that second half.
Woof.
But they battled. They got the job done. They're dancing. And you just love to see. This is such just like an all-time fun Michigan State team. I don't think this is the best Michigan State team. I don't know if I would say they're my favorite ever, but this has got to be one of the most fun basketball teams that we've seen in the green and white.
I'm really looking forward to watching this game back tomorrow so I can actually enjoy the process.
I think there's probably going to be some elements because I think...
Again, I think I blacked out.
If you're like us, there's probably large portions of this game that we don't remember.
When did we hit those other 6 threes? I have no recollection of that.
But Michigan State got it done.
Oh, let's go, boys.
They played those last 20 minutes, and they got another 40 minutes. They got another game to play for a Final Four, to hang another banner, to make, as Tom Izzo says, memories that these players will remember forever, their kids will remember forever, their grandkids will remember forever. This is all you can ask for. It's Michigan State playing for banners, playing for championships, and there is nothing more fun than this.
So do we know who we're playing for a banner?
It might be official right now. We might have to check.
Okay.
Do you have your phone?
I do.
On you?
We're going to have to check.
This is a live check. I know when we
it's late, y'all.
Started this game, Auburn was up by 12 with 3 minutes left. So we're checking in live time.
If I can figure out how to use my phone. All right, it's official. Do you want to guess the final score? And who won?
I saw the Auburn score.
Okay.
It was 78, right?
Okay.
I'm going to say 78-65.
You little booger. You saw the Michigan score too.
I did
yes,
not.
you
No,
did.
I didn't.
Yes, you did. Bye, Wolverines. That's all I'm going to say. We had a lot of discussion on, once this game was over and we were already in elite status, unlike, maybe some people out there who are already banking on being in the final or the Elite Eight and the Final Four. It's fine. We're going to move on from it. We were talking about, who are we going to face on Sunday? And had a lot of mixed emotions. All I will say is that I am thrilled to be the only team from Michigan that is going to the Elite Eight.
Absolutely.
Thrilled.
So, let's just talk briefly about this Auburn game. Because we got another game on Sunday.
Yeah. And as Tom said, his goal is to win the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care if he wins half the weekend. He wants to win the weekend. We want to win the weekend. What are your thoughts on Auburn? Do we even go there? Do we just sit in the bask in the glory of, the win against the Rebels and then just say, Sunday's going to bring what made, do we go there tonight? Do we want to go there?
For my nerve's sake, I'm glad that we're not playing Michigan. I think the next 36 hours would have been absolute.
I'm going to cut you off there. Not your nerve's sake, because I just know there's going to be some little piddly Wolverine in the comments saying, oh, you would have been nervous about us. No, not nerves. Just pure angst of are you kidding me? Of course, we get put in the same quadrant as Michigan. Of course, they're trying to pit us against each other again. Hey, guess what? You're not dancing anymore. We're not going to say, I'm sorry, the toxicity is coming up.
I love it.
We're not going to say that we would be nervous about that, because we would not be nervous. We would just be ticked off and angsty and ready to wipe the floor with their little booties like we did twice this season already.
The thing I like about this matchup is for the first 3 games, Michigan State has been the top dog.
Yeah.
They have been the
one with the target on their back.
Yeah. But now, I don't want to say Michigan State's playing with house money, but they kind of are. They're playing the number 1 overall seed, the SEC champion. Game they're probably going to be underdogs in, that nobody's going to pick them to win. And that's just where Tom Izzo
that's where we thrives.
Yeah. And I think, like we said, Michigan State kind of seemed to take the little things for granted against Ole Miss.
I think that's going to be a big
I don't
lesson.
think they're going to take anything for granted against Auburn. And these last couple of weeks, Auburn has looked from back in January, they looked unstoppable, unbeatable, this inevitable force.
Yes.
Granted, Auburn is still an excellent basketball team.
They're a beast.
Michigan State is going to have to absolutely battle for 40 minutes if they want to pull this one off. But I think Auburn is human.
Yes.
They are beatable. And really, for a large portion of that game against Michigan. And Cohen Carr is not. That's true. It's like Rocky 4. Ivan Drago and Rocky, and it's Cohen Carr versus
I'm going to nod along I know what you're talking about.
Our listeners will know what I'm talking about.
Cool. They're cooler than me.
But this team is beatable, and they look just really lifeless for a large portion of this game against Michigan. They didn't look like they wanted it. They were playing sloppy. They were playing rushed. And I think Michigan State has a chance in this game. Tom Izzo is,
I would say, more than a chance.
8-2 all time in the Elite Eight. He has never lost to an SEC team in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
And we're playing,
of course he hasn't,
for a Final Four on Saturday or on Sunday. We're not going to get into the X's and O's. I'm not going to pull up Auburn's advanced analytics, because I don't think really anybody cares about that right now. Only thing people care about were what happens in those 40 minutes at 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Watching some dang good basketball.
As our season continues, as Michigan's recording their off-season podcasts. We're still recording our season podcast because our season's still going, baby.
I love that.
And we're playing, like Tom Izzo said in his presser after this game, Elite Eights are nice. Elite Eights are fun. Mm-hmm. But at Michigan State, we don't hang banners for Elite Eights.
We're not like those other schools.
We hang banners for championships and Final Fours. And that's what Michigan State is playing for. And as Michigan State fans, that's all you can ask for. Yeah. That's all you can want. You gotta love it.
And man, are we going to be asking for it on Sunday? Please, Tom, please, boys. We would love to keep our podcast season going. We want to thank you for joining us in our very late night for us tirade, if you can't tell them. becoming a little bit unhinged at this point.
I think you've been unhinged since about 7 o'clock today.
Before that, at work all day today. Just the undercurrent of becoming more and more unhinged, but it's fine. Thank you for coming along on this unhinged ride with us. We appreciate it. As always, the We Got It podcast is an official podcast of Spartans Illustrated. So if you cannot get your fill of Spartan content from us, please head on over there.
There's going to be a lot of it tonight, tomorrow, Sunday.
Yes, all the things. Also, you can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you can find podcasts. If you haven't already, we would love if you could leave us a review, a rating, a nice comment, or give us feedback on things that you'd love us to do. At some point, mid-April or whatever, this podcast, and basketball season will come to an end. And we're still kind of thinking about what will be next in the off season. So if you've got any ideas, shoot them over to us at thewegotitpodcast@gmail.com. Goodness, Jonah. It's a good day to be a Spartan.
It is. As always, go green.
Go white.
Go state.